Today we're making my absolute favorite cake recipe. Let's put it that way. This is my chocolate zucchini cake. Okay, for any of you who are like, zucchini in a cake? Really? Like, really? Yes, really. It's really, really good. It really is. You can't tell that there's any zucchini in there. It's a really great, is that a word? It's a really great way to use up your zucchini. If you like to grow zucchini in the garden, like I do, because it grows really, really well. And they can grow really big. And with this recipe, you can let them grow really big, and you can shred this and have this in your freezer and then add it in to your cake. Nobody knows it's there. You're adding that extra nutrition and fiber into your cake, and it makes a really beautiful, moist cake. So enough rambling on about the cake. Let's go make the cake. Where were we? So this is the way that I do this. You do not have to do this step, but I'm going to do this step. I just find it makes a better, well, here, I'll talk you through it while I'm doing it. So what I do is I just take my, wait, I need another bowl here off to the side where I will put this. As I do this, I take my zucchini and I squeeze some of the liquid out of it, without losing your zucchini, of course. Okay, and the reason why I do this is because I find it makes my cake bake a little quicker because you're removing the liquid. As I said, you don't have to do this. This is not a necessary step. It just makes it cook quicker. And I don't have a cameraman, you guys, so I can't change the angle here. I'm by myself. Now my hands are dirty. Professional this is not, so I hope you can see what I'm doing here well enough with the camera angle I have. And I'm just putting this off into a bowl on the side here. There we go. So now it's drier. And this won't be wasted. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it, but I will figure out something to do with this. I might even just freeze it in some ice cube trays, and the next time I make a soup stock, I will probably add that into it. Do not waste things, especially with what's going on in the world right now. Save everything. You just never know. Okay, so now we're gonna start assembling this. All of my ingredients are already measured out. I also want you to keep in mind, please, that I personally am doubling this recipe, okay? These are my dry ingredients. Remember, I'm doubling my recipe, you guys. So that would be for you 2 cups of flour. You're going to be adding half of a cup of cocoa powder. And I always sift my cocoa powder. Always, always, always. I'm actually gonna grab a whisk. And this is normally how I do when I'm sifting my cocoa powder or anything that I'm sifting. I use my whisk. Now we're gonna use our leavening agents. That is baking soda and baking powder in this recipe. You get both. So we'll dump those in there. And I'm also going to add in my salt and my seasonings to this. So this is half a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1 teaspoon of coriander. You do not have to add any of these extra spices. That's preference, and you can add whatever spices you like. I find the coriander really makes this a bit of a different flavor in this cake, but a very, very pleasing flavor. Cardamom is also a really nice flavor to add to this. Allspice, let me think, cloves, anything like that you can add into this. I would just use what I had on hand, and I do think I have allspice and cloves, but it's not really that time of year yet. I don't think, anyways. So you just whisk all of your dry ingredients together. Make sure that they're nicely incorporated so that when you go to mix everything together, that has already been mixed in well. And I'm just going to set that off to the side. And then I'm going to pull in my bowl for my wet ingredients. So I'm going to start out with my flour. I'm going to start out with my sugar. That's 1 cup of brown sugar. I know this looks like more, but I'm doubling this, remember. And half of a cup, hold on. I need to make sure that I did double everything for myself. Yes, half of a cup of oil. I'm using avocado oil. That's my preference. You can use vegetable oil, though I don't recommend it because vegetable oil can be anything. I don't recommend using canola oil because canola oil is awful. You can use coconut oil I would use for this, but I just want to get this done and I have to melt my coconut oil. In the summertime, I use more coconut oil and less avocado oil in my baking. Coconut oil is less expensive, and I actually find it lends a better flavor to your baking. However, it's usually hard as a rock in my cupboard, and I don't want to have to melt it. And I do not own a microwave, so that I can't put my coconut oil in the microwave. Sometimes I do put it in the oven. Oh, speaking of oven. Okay, while we're doing this, the very first thing that we should have done at the beginning of all of this, yeah, turn your oven on. 350. I pretty well bake everything at 350. To this, we are going to add 3 eggs that are at room temperature. Okay, now we're gonna mix this in, and I'm actually gonna add in my coffee. So I'm using an instant coffee here, which I just happen to have. If you don't have instant coffee, don't run out and buy it for this recipe. Just use regular coffee. And if you don't want to use coffee, don't use coffee at all. The coffee is just to enhance the chocolate flavor. That's the only reason why we're adding coffee to this, and it's not going to make the recipe taste like coffee. But as I said, you don't have to add the coffee. But I am using an instant coffee here. And I'm not even using my stand mixer today, you guys. No, I am not. So our very last ingredient is going to be some vanilla, which the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons. There's 1, there's 2. Yeah, that's probably more, but I love vanilla. And I know this is a chocolate cake and we're using vanilla. Yes, I put vanilla in everything. Vanilla is brown, so I'm not quite sure why people associate vanilla with being like a white cake would be vanilla, and chocolate cake is you know, the dark one. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now that I've made vanilla myself, I'm like, but vanilla is brown too, you guys. So vanilla a dark colored cake can be vanilla flavored. Okay, one of the other ingredients that I actually do have in this recipe is chocolate chips, which you can or cannot add to this. I might add some, like I said, I'm doubling this. So I've got 2 different things that I've got in mind that I'm going to do with this. I may or may not add the chocolate chips. So we don't want the whisk because that's just going to make a mess. What you want to do, this is also optional, you can just mix it all together if you want, But I like to take my zucchini and put it into my dry mixture first. And I'll mix that all up. And then I'll add all of that together into my wet. And it just kind of helps disperse the zucchini a little bit better if you cover it with the dry stuff first. And you know what? Don't be shy. Put your hand right in there. And you just kind of want to break it all apart, and you're kind of coating your zucchini with your flour mixture. This is also a reason why it's good to get the water off of this, because this step would be a lot more difficult to do. Like I said, this just helps aid to evenly distribute your zucchini throughout your bread. I can smell the spices in there. They smell so good already, and they're not even cooking. I'm breathing it in. Yummy. I can smell the spices. They're joking me. Okay, really, seriously. Okay, now we're just gonna take these two and we're gonna add them together. Are we gonna add the dry to the wet? Or are we gonna add the wet to the dry? What do you think? We're gonna add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. And while I'm mixing, I'll tell you why. The reason why I add my dry ingredients to my wet ingredients and not vice versa is if you add your wet ingredients in on top of your dry ingredients, there's a good possibility that you're gonna end up, the bottom is gonna have dry ingredients in there that don't get all the way mixed in. Where if you add your dry ingredients in on top of your wet ingredients, you know that your wet ingredients were already on the bottom of your bowl. Ask me how I know that that works best. Probably because of experience, right? Yeah. So, one other thing that I'm going to add to this that I had thought about adding, but I didn't have it out, is some yogurt, you guys. So that could have been added into your wet ingredients from the beginning, but a lot of the time I will add it in at the end like this. And like I said, that yogurt could also be buttermilk. It could also be sour cream. It could also just be milk if you don't have any of the other things and you don't want to make it. These are the containers that I personally am using today because I'm selling these. So you probably are going to want to use a loaf pan of some sort. You can make this into a loaf, you can make it into an actual cake. But I am going to oil and flour these pans just for people. I think I'm going to try and get 4 of that kind and then 2 of the bigger ones. This is just a spray bottle with avocado oil in it. This is what I would usually do these guys in, is my silicone baking pans. But as I said, the reason why I do them in this too is because I want to top them. I'm going to put an icing on top, and I can't put an icing on top if it doesn't have a thing that I can put a lid on top of it, if that makes sense. You'll see in the end what I'm talking about. I would prefer to not have to do this. I don't like the waste, but if I want to ice it, I have to do it like this. So I'm actually going to take 2 of these, put them off to the side, because I'm going to do 2 like this and 2 like that. So I do this the same way I do my bread pans. And for some reason, I can never seem to do it in the direction where the camera is. And you can just see as you turn it, your flour will fall along the sides. And I do it over top of my other pan. We don't want the extra flour in there. Okay. And obviously I weigh them because I sell them and I want all of them to be the same weight. So we'll start out with these guys. Kind of like with my cookies. If you haven't seen my cookie recipe, check that out. I'll leave a link up here. I really got to speed this up because those turkeys are having a nervous breakdown. So, oh, my dog has let himself back in, little brat. Is that you, Max? Forgot you were out there, you brat. Okay, so we're probably gonna do this one at about 250. It's gonna rise, of course. I don't want it to rise up to, I haven't actually made these in these little pans because they've never had these little pans at the dollar store before. These are brand spanking new. And I've never done this one before. So I'm not quite sure how full to fill it. And I really hope that that's not too full, because there's not that much clearance. I want to have enough room to put some icing on top of these. So we will see. I'm only doing 2 for right now, and then we'll find out. Okay, you guys, so totally joyfully, my phone camera is full, my camera won't sync, and it will sync, but it's just taking a really long time. So I've switched over to another camera, so I hope that this footage is all right, so you can see what I've done. I had to finish filling these because I just had to continue on with this. So these guys here, I just did layers, like I did a little bit of the batter, a little chocolate chips, little batter, little chocolate chips, until it weighed up to where I wanted it to weigh. So I'm gonna pop these guys into the oven for 35 minutes, it says here. I think that's probably too long. So I'm gonna put these in for about 20 minutes, and then I'll check them. The oven is at 3. Okay, so there you go, you guys. These guys have all baked. These ones baked for 20 minutes. These guys over here took 30 minutes. So if you remember, I did 250 grams in these guys here. I think next time I'll do just 200. I might have to cut the top off of this because, oh, I put my lids away, because I'm not sure how the lid will fit on there. But these guys are just going to be sold like that, and this one is actually for us. So now I'm just gonna let these guys cool completely. I'll take these ones out of the pans. These ones will stay in the pans. Well, thank you guys for joining me today on the farm when we made this super yummy chocolate zucchini cake. It's nice and moist and super tasty. You can really taste the cardamom. Cardamom? Yeah. We're gonna go with that's how it's pronounced. And the nutmeg and the cinnamon, you can really taste that in there. They're really good flavors. So thank you very much for joining me on the farm today. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I hope that you try it yourself. It's super yummy. If you haven't planted any zucchini in your garden yet, you totally should, so that you can make this recipe. If not, you can just buy some zucchinis from the store. You can do that too. Or you might be blessed with a neighbor or a friend who grows tons of zucchinis and keeps giving them to you, and you're not quite sure what to do with those zucchinis. Well, this is a good recipe. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.